Nikita Khrushchev was an entirely new kind of Soviet leader. He was not evil like Joseph Stalin, but in his relations with the West, he was openly defiant and often belligerent. He boasted of the Soviet Union's vastly superior nuclear capabilities that could wipe out any American or European city. True or not, Khrushchev's threats to unleash his rocket weapons on Western targets was unnerving. But for all his nuclear posturing, Khrushchev could be amiable and at times even likable. In 1959, he engaged Vice President Richard Nixon in an impromptu debate over the relative merits of capitalism and communism.
Teach us some things, and it will teach you some things too. Because after all, you don't know everything.
That every word that you have said here will be reported in the United States, and they will see you say it on television.
Khrushchev would soon have a chance to witness a capitalist democracy firsthand.
The President of the United States has invited Mr. Nikita Khrushchev, Chairman of the Council of Ministers of the USSR, to pay an official visit to the United States in September.
Khrushchev was the first Soviet head of state ever to visit the United States. During his stay, he was exposed to the extremes of American life and culture, from movie stars in Hollywood to farm production in the American heartland.
Nikita Khrushchev's American tour swings into the world's best corn country. At one of the world's most modern, efficient, and profitable farming operations, Khrushchev shows an enthusiasm springing from his Ukrainian peasant background and the interest of a leader whose nation has long known major food production problems.
The Soviet leader acknowledged the riches of the United States, but boasted, "Tomorrow we shall be as rich as you are. The next day, even richer." Meetings with President Eisenhower failed to break new ground, but the two leaders bridged a divide. They pledged to meet again in Paris the following year. Khrushchev was deeply moved by his American experience.
Хорошим американским словом. Окей? Хорошо. До свидания, друзья.
I hope that in the relationships between our two countries, we will be able to use more and more often the good short American word, okay, until we meet again, friends.
Upon returning to Moscow, he openly declared, "Long live Soviet-American friendship," pledging his nation to massive cuts in its conventional military as a first step towards peace. By this time, the U-2 had revealed that the Soviets were greatly exaggerating their nuclear capabilities. Seeing continued surveillance as a diplomatic risk, Eisenhower had suspended the flights. But under pressure from his advisors, he reluctantly agreed to allow one more mission.
May Day in Moscow. This year's parade through Red Square is a 3.5-hour affair with emphasis on peaceful coexistence.
On May 1st, 1960, as Kremlin leaders waved to the May Day crowds in Red Square, a U-2, piloted by Francis Gary Powers, was shot down over Soviet airspace. In an instant, the plane, the pilot, and any chance for peaceful coexistence came crashing to Earth. The White House had devised a cover plan for just such an occurrence. They claimed the U-2 was on a weather mission originating in Turkey for NASA and had strayed off course. The next day, they changed the story. The plane was piloted by a civilian, and the failure in oxygen equipment had resulted in the pilot losing consciousness and accidentally violating Soviet airspace. It was all rubbish. Khrushchev knew the U.S. had been flying spy missions over the Soviet Union, and now he had the evidence to prove it. The wreckage of the U-2 and the American pilot alive and kicking. Trapped Eisenhower finally came clean with the American public.
Now, this does not put the United States on trial whatsoever.
At the Paris summit 2 weeks later, Khrushchev turned the U-2 incident into a crisis.
Khrushchev outdoes his earlier outburst against President Eisenhower at the commencement of the Paris meeting. Flanked by Foreign Minister Gromyko and glowering Marshal Malinowski, he fires a barrage of threats, insults, and menaces, warns of devastating blows at bases used by American espionage planes, denounces American acts of aggression, and in general follows a tough line that seems to signal a new freezing spell in the Cold War.
The captured U-2 pilot, Francis Gary Powers, was convicted of espionage against the Soviet Union and sentenced to 10 years in prison. It was August 17, 1960. That very same day, in the skies over the Pacific Ocean, an Air Force pilot snatched a falling capsule from midair. The event marked a breakthrough in the top-secret project to develop Corona, the world's first Earth-orbiting reconnaissance satellite. The U-2 may have been downed, but America had a new eye in the sky, and this one could capture stunningly clear and revealing images of its target from more than 100 miles in outer space.